Welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions, please do ask them in the comments in the live feed. And if you need any more advice, please do join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where there are accountants and business experts on hand 24/7. During today's live session, we will be running a poll, so please do engage with it, and I will reveal the results at the end. So thank you so much to everyone for joining me once again. My name is Eriona. I'm the Managing Director of Majors Accounts, which is a small family-run accountancy practice based in South East London. We cater for SMEs, so small to medium-sized enterprises, so whether they're limited companies or self-employed individuals, in all industries, to name a few: construction, the hospitality sector, so restaurants, pubs, bars, hairdressers. We've also got nurseries and financial services, IT. The list really goes on. I myself am a chartered certified accountant with the ACCA, and I'm also a member of the ACCA UK Practitioner Network Panel and the ACCA SME Global Forum member. So I've been working in practice, actually realised today, for half my life. So for the last 14 years, I would say. And it's really been great being able to work and study at the same time. So I really get to enhance my studies by seeing exactly how business runs in real life, and really seeing, backing that experience with the theory and seeing how a business works, how it functions, their pain points, investigating ways of providing solutions for a business and helping them grow if that is what they want to do, or become more profitable, whatever it is that the business goal is. Now, I became Managing Director of Majors Accounts a few years ago, and since becoming Managing Director, I've spearheaded a digitalisation strategy within our business with the idea of becoming a paperless office. I'm proud to say that we are a QuickBooks online only practice, and we've become, I'd say, somewhat experts in that space. And now everything can be done online using obviously QuickBooks and an array of different apps that all integrate within QuickBooks to not only create an elevated experience for our team in using the latest cutting edge technology, but also to be ahead of the game for our clients. And I think this is especially relevant as MTD is being rolled out not only for VAT, which it has been for the last few years, but income tax and corporation tax and so on, as we see more and more taxes coming under the MTD. Now our clients do not need to come to the office if they don't want to, so we've got that convenience and time saving there for them, and it allows for our national and soon to be global reach. Now we have clients from Ireland all the way down to the Isle of Wight, and the idea of this strategy was to bring our relationship closer with our clients. A lot of people have the perception that when you're adding technology into anything, you're distancing the human element and contact with your clients. But actually, if anything, this has meant that we are able to save so much time on tasks that really don't give that much value to anyone, and focus more on the more value added services, like speaking to clients, finding out exactly what they want. And a lot of the time we find out information that we wouldn't have done if we hadn't picked up the phone to say, hi, how are you doing, how's business going? And a lot of the time from those conversations we've found that there are so many areas that we can assist our clients with, which we weren't aware of the help that they needed, and they weren't aware that we could help in all sorts of areas. So if anything, we're now providing a more personalised service, and coupled with the expertise that we've built up over the years, and the experience that we have. So now it has brought us closer to our clients, and we act more as the financial director for our clients, but without the price tag that usually comes with that. Now, during this time, our efforts have not gone unnoticed. So we've been nominated for Independent Firm of the Year Greater London for 2 years in a row by the British Accountancy Awards. I myself have been nominated for 3 awards by the Women in Accounting and Finance Awards 2020, and I've been nominated for Top Women in Accounting for the last 2 years in a row globally. Now, obviously, enough about us. the last year has been difficult for so many people, businesses and individuals alike. It has been a year of people just trying to stay afloat. And during this time, there have been many government grants and assistance and loans that the government has tried to put in place to help businesses stay afloat, to help keep employees on the book, so that when businesses do eventually return to work, they at least have those employees that they have helped to build up experience with, and are able to pay the initial costs and just stay afloat. One of the things that we have noticed as we're slowly coming out of this, fingers crossed that it keeps going as positively as it has been, but one of the things that we've noticed as we are having more and more contact with clients and they're having to have their accounts done, they've got their taxes to pay, there has been a misconception with the grants that have been available. So the government grants are taxable. So I'd like to remind you that there is existing legislation in place to ensure that the COVID support grants are treated as taxable income. So in the same way as other taxable receipts. And the grants are treated as income where the business is within the scope of either income tax or corporation tax. And the schemes that are included in this are the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme, the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme, the Coronavirus Statutory Sick Pay Rebate Scheme, and any other coronavirus business support grant schemes and any other support schemes that that were available for businesses during this time. The guidance is clear from HMRC that whether any tax is paid will depend on the business profits of the grant recipient. So taking into consideration the grant and other business income and expenditure under the normal tax rules, and any other taxable income and personal and other allowances to which you're entitled to. And this is based on the fact that these payments were designed to substitute various income streams for businesses and individuals affected by the pandemic, and hence should follow the same tax treatment. And unfortunately, HMRC also has the power to recover payments and charge penalties where claimants have made support grants or claims which they weren't entitled to. So although you don't have to pay the grant back, just as a summary, you will get taxed on it because it's treated as income. It replaces the income that you would have otherwise received if you weren't in lockdown. Now, something else that I'm getting so many of my clients talking to me about, and so many people are getting into this, is crypto assets. So in most cases, individuals hold crypto assets such as Bitcoin as a personal investment, and usually for capital appreciation in its value or to make purchases. Now, you will be liable to pay capital gains tax when you dispose of the crypto assets. So it could be selling tokens, exchanging tokens for a different type of crypto asset, using tokens to pay for goods and services, or giving away tokens to another person, unless it's a gift to your spouse or civil partner. Otherwise, it doesn't get taxed in those circumstances. But if you're giving it away to anybody else, it will fall under some kind of tax treatment. Now, if your activity is trading, then income tax will take priority over capital gains tax, and it will apply to profits or losses. So you will be liable to pay income tax and national insurance contributions on crypto assets, which you receive either from your employer as a form of a non-cash payment, or from mining and transaction confirmation or airdrops. There may be cases where you're running a business which is carrying on a financial trade in crypto assets, and therefore this also will fall under taxable trading profits. So usually the difference between whether it falls into capital gains or income tax is how often you're buying and selling. If it is that you're just buying and not selling and just keeping it to increase in value, then you will fall under capital gains tax once it's sold. If you're doing it regularly, it will be considered as a normal trade, so then you will fall under the income tax, whether it's corporation tax if you're doing it through a company, or income tax if you're doing it personally. So that's just something to be aware of, because many people getting into it, earning a lot of money, some are selling and realizing those gains. But don't forget that there will come a point where you will be liable to pay tax on that. So it may be worth keeping a certain percentage aside to save for the future for a potential tax bill that may come your way. The last thing that I want to highlight as well is that the bounce back loan is, many people are starting to pay this back now. And there are people who, when they did take the bounce back loan, they may have not had their financial figures to hand to when filling out the forms on what your turnover was, to ensure that you're not getting more than 25% of your company's turnover. Now, some businesses put estimated figures in, which was considered okay, and the bank, paid out these loans based on that. However, now that people have, or you may have the figures on how much you've turned over, and if you find that the figures that you have now compared to what you put in as estimated figures for turnover when you got the loans, if they're different, therefore what you've provided is incorrect, you need to ensure you pay it back to the bank, and you only keep the amount that you were due, to ensure that you do not get penalised. And you could do, not for not doing it correctly at the time, but now that you have realised, this is when you're supposed to say, yeah, actually I had a lot less income, for example, so I was only due this much. Here is the balance back of what I shouldn't have got. But if you do keep it and they do find out, you could possibly get penalised. We're kind of notifying our clients as we're doing their accounts, and as we're now seeing how much they did take from the bank, but ultimately it is the taxpayer's responsibility. So if that is you and you're not sure, please do have a look and try and rectify if it was an error. Now, I see that we have questions coming in, so I'll start taking these now. We have a question from Anya from Twitter, who says, now that we all have a little bit more freedom, what are the 2 to 3 things we should all be focusing on to make our businesses stronger? Okay, I think some of the main things that businesses need to consider at the moment are costs, trying to keep costs down where possible, because you need to be generating that income to really get some fat on the bones of your business and increase your cash balance and your profit. It doesn't seem like we're going to go back into a lockdown, but you never say never. So you need to try and build that up. So if in case we do, you have something to go by to keep you going just a little bit longer. There are instances where you need to consider, although you can bring staff back to work, maybe your trade at the moment isn't as high as it would have been previously with the normal number of staff that you had. So you still have time to take advantage of the coronavirus, the furlough scheme. So you could be bringing your staff back on shift basis or part-time basis. So you also get them back in to get used to working again, because we forget that there could have been many people that haven't worked for the last year or so, so they're going to need some time to adjust. So it's a great way bringing them in part-time, plus the government will help out for the other half, or the other time that they're not working, so they still get a good salary. But also for the business, it's great because you don't have that burden of having to pay staff or let staff go when you're not generating as much income as you would have done previously. And the other thing I would suggest is, if you have found ways of operating online or other service lines that you would have added during this year, don't get back into the mentality of thinking that, okay, I'm just going to go back to how I was working previously. Maybe see how you can leverage the new ways of working that you found to work like that going forward, and keep that service line. So you have a few options and you can pivot your business no matter what happens. Basically, you're safe. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So you're able to either work online or work in person, seeing your customers. Try and keep both if you can. That's what I would say. So don't be complacent and fall back into the old ways of working, because as we've seen from this last year, the way of life and business and work has changed completely, and I don't think it's going to go. So I think it's here to stay. So in order to keep up with the times, you need to make sure that your business has that ability to pivot whenever needed. We have a question now from Matthew from Facebook, who says, lockdown forced my practice to go more digital, which is a good thing. However, in the rush to go digital, I don't think we signed up to the best cloud products. our initial 1 year will be coming to an end soon. How should we review how it's gone? And if we look elsewhere, what should I be looking for? So this is great. So many practices. So this is, I'm guessing this is an accountancy practice. So many are in your shoes, and a lot have been kind of hit with this year and have found it really difficult because they either didn't have anything in place, so they found it difficult to communicate with clients, difficult to get your staff into the office to work because many, would be very reluctant to come in during the height of the pandemic. So I can imagine the difficulties that you've had in the last year and trying to rush to get yourself on as many cloud or digital products must have been a nightmare in itself. We actually started this process about 3-4 years ago now. So we were lucky when the pandemic hit that, we were okay. When lockdown first hit, we were able to start working from home, the next day, and we didn't have any breaks. The only thing we suffered was the amount of workload that we had extra with the grants and so on. However, even in a rush to find the software that you need, I can imagine obviously you would have just picked something just to keep you going. We've been doing this, as I said, 3-4 years, and we're always reviewing the softwares that we have. The one thing that I look for whenever I look for a new software is support. So I will not look at a software, no matter how good it is, if they don't offer amazing support. The reason for that is these softwares are all new. We need time to get used to it. We don't want to disrupt our current work. And you've got a team possibly that needs to get used to a new skill, which will take time. It can be frustrating, and we know generally humans don't like change. So it needs to be something where you are supported throughout with the software that you're using. Now, obviously for our main bookkeeping package, we chose QuickBooks, but all of the other apps that we attach onto QuickBooks, we go through the same process. And, there are going to be apps where you sign up to them, you try them out, and most of the times, those ones that you are not successful with, as in, they don't work for your practice, is because you haven't had a dedicated account manager or somebody to hold your hand along the way, because you will need it right now whilst you're getting used to everything. As I said, we've been doing this for how long? And that's one of the main points we look for when looking for a software. And don't be afraid to, in thinking, I've got this software now, I have to change. I thought it was going to be right for me, but it's not. You're going to go through that until you find the perfect setup for your practice. That it will be tailored. Your stack, your app stack will be tailored to your business, and you have to consider your clients and what they can use. You may see other practice owners that use different softwares that may work really well for them, but you've got a different client base, and that may not be what is good for you. So it's trial and error until you find out exactly what is good for you. Excuse me. I hope that's helped, but if you need anything else, please do get into contact with me directly, because I will help you out wherever I can. We have a question from Don from Instagram, who says, I want to start investing in business but don't want to be caught short again. Thankfully, our income has jumped thanks to restrictions easing. What's the best way to forward plan? So if you're investing in your business, maybe there are many areas that you need to be thinking about. Either I would suggest looking, again, as I mentioned, other ways of working, other service lines to expand your business, so you don't, you're not focused on just one area. So if we were to go into lockdown, or no matter what happens, generally it's good to be diversified. So if you are able to add other service lines or products or whatever it is that you're doing that are complementary to what you're doing at the moment, that's a great way of investing. The other thing that I would suggest, a lot of people getting into research and development and innovation. If this is something that is applicable, or that you can do within your business, it's worth looking into, because there are great tax schemes from the government that help those that are trying to innovate. Even if it doesn't work out, you could still get some research and development tax credits, or cash payment lump sums from the government, but at least you've given it a try. The other thing that I would say, ways of, as you've said, not being caught short again. you need to really look into, I mean, I guess that's kind of the main things that I've mentioned, just trying to see if there are other ways of working. It's a bit difficult to give that advice without knowing exactly what you do. But again, if you want to, contact me, I'll try and find ways that I could possibly help with that. We have a question from Leslie from Facebook, who says, "Great show, Eriona. Thank you so much. I have a full-time job, but I've just launched a business. Congratulations. So I'll have to start doing self-assessment, and I'm new to this. How do I link my side business tax info to what HMRC already have from my employer? What should I be doing now to make it easier when I do the tax return?" So if you're employed, obviously that information is already going to HMRC on a monthly basis. With your self-employment, make sure that you've registered for self-employment. So you should be getting a UTR. It will take roughly 6 weeks or so for that to come to your home address. But make sure you register as soon as possible. In the form, it says, you need to get the information of when you started trading. One thing that I would say, as you said, to make it easier for when you do your tax return, try and be as organized as you can with your paperwork now, because if you don't do that now, when the time comes to you having to fill your tax return and provide all the information, you will be struggling to find everything. And it's so easy to do right now because you're so focused on growing the business and making something out of it, that you think that keeping all paperwork and evidence for everything that you're doing is not that important. It will be if you are successful and you end up having to pay tax. You could have many expenses and receipts and evidence that you could use to reduce your tax, which will help you, especially if you just started out. You need all the money you can get right now when starting a business. And one of the ways that we do that for our clients is we advise them to set up a QuickBooks online account. You could do the self-employed license. There are many different stages depending on how much information that you want to know from your business as you're starting up. But the bare minimum is a self-employed license, and looking at other apps that fit with QuickBooks to make sure that you keep your information up to date. So one of the ones that we use is Dex, to literally take pictures of your receipts. QuickBooks have this as well within their app. So, it helps to ensure that once you have an expense, take a picture of it, it's in there, you don't need to worry about it anymore. At least at the end of the year, you'll have a whole list of expenses and you'll have everything in one place. The other thing is invoicing. Please do make sure to invoice. A lot of people they kind of underestimate the importance of an invoice. It is a legal document. There are certain things that you have to consider. So you have to have obviously the tax point date, invoice numbering has to be consequential. And again, with QuickBooks, you can also link your bank account. Now, one thing I would mention is that when setting up a business, don't use your own current account. If you can, or if you haven't done so already, contact your bank and set up a business current account and use that as your area to have all of your money coming in from the business. Any expenses that you have go out from there. And if you need to top it up, you top it up from your personal current account. And once you've made enough money, you can take that back out and put it into your personal account for everyday spending. The reason for this, it just makes it so much easier when you're going through to try and find out and do your tax return. You know exactly all of the income and expenses that relate to your business only. You don't have to go through, all your rent expenses or your personal expenses, trying to find out which one was for business and possibly losing some expenses where you could save tax on. So there's some of the things that I would consider, but organization is key and so important when you're first starting up. I have a question from Craig on Instagram, who says, "Great to learn a bit more about cryptocurrencies, but is there any real use for them when operating a business, and how would we include them in our accounts?" So when operating a business, there have been quite a few businesses now saying that they will accept payment in crypto. Although it's not a pure cash payment, in your accounts it would be considered the equivalent of that. And obviously at the end of each year, you'd have to look at the possible gain or loss made on the investment. But in terms of operating them, whether there's any real use, it's a new digital type of currency, and overall it goes up and down. It's very volatile. It seems to be that the trend at the moment is generally positive, but how this will go in the future, I guess it's to be seen. The markets are volatile, so there have been many people that have become millionaires from it. There have been people who have lost everything. But one of the things, I guess, with crypto is you can only lose what you put into it. But it can provide cash flow for your business, and it can also help to diversify, because if this is where the future is going to go, if you have some of these at the moment, it may be worth keeping them just to see how it goes, and you never know, at least in the future you're already within this new digital currency and you'll be able to, you're not left behind basically. But again, this all depends on your business, depends on your risk appetite, because this is one of the more risky in the spectrum. It's one of the riskiest at the moment markets to be in. But again, as I said, many people have made a lot of money from it. So it's possibly something to consider if you haven't yet. And it takes a lot of study, I think, to really know what you're doing. And I saw a statistic recently where 60 to 80% of people lose their money. And I think one of the main reasons for that is because there isn't enough knowledge behind it. There's a trend of, my friend is investing, so I'll just invest, but not really knowing what you're doing. Or what you're investing in. So it does need a lot of study to understand, which coins are the best or which currencies to invest in. But obviously be cautious, because as we know, it was an all-time high, it crashed, and it's an all-time high again now. But definitely something to look into, I would say. We have a question from Rebecca on Twitter, who says, "We finally got all of our data in the cloud and it has made life so much easier. Now that it's there though, is there anything more we could be doing with it?" Absolutely. If you have your information in the cloud, I guess that you're adding to that in real time. There are apps out there that will allow you to consolidate all of that information and find out exactly how your business is doing, how you can grow or become more profitable, but at least give you information on what you're doing, which many people do not have. And that clarity can help you to make the best business strategic decisions on where you want to go with your business. Where if you don't have it, you're just working with no real strategy of where you're going to go. So now that you have that information, now you can really see the value in using that information to plan for your business. I believe that I am now running out of time. I don't think I have any more time for questions, so the poll results are in, so I'll reveal those now. We asked you, are you using the data you have to help grow your business? 0%, so none of you said yes, and 100% said no. It's so important, if you have the data, to use it. As with the last question, once you have that data, you can make much better, more informed decisions for your business, because you know exactly where you are. You know how much you can afford to invest or grow your business, or you can see areas that you can become more profitable. For us, we found there was an area of our business that was loss-making, and we were working for years and not realizing this. Once we saw that, we tackled it. Actually, that department now is one of the more profitable departments that we have within the business. But without the information, we would have carried on working, and actually making a loss from the whole department, which would have been useless for our business. So that's just one example, but there are so many other uses for your information that you don't realize, but it can make such a huge difference. So if you don't already have your information, please do, and if you do have it, please use it. It's gold dust for your business. So thank you so much for tuning in this morning. If you do want to get in touch with myself, please contact me via the Majors Accounts website at majorsaccounts.com. We also have our own app which you can download from our website, which has all sorts of information on it and calculators that could be really useful for your business. We're also on all social media platforms, so on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter, so please do come on over and find us on there. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow, the speaker and personal impact coach, Esther Stanhope. So she'll be giving you the do's and don'ts of presenting your best self while on camera and in a remote meeting. Please do join in. So it could be super valuable for you. A reminder that if you do need any more advice, please do join the official QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where there are accountants and business experts on hand to help you 24/7. I've really enjoyed answering your questions this morning. I hope that they have been valuable to you. Thank you so much for joining me again, and have an amazing day.